Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Welcome again to our newest radio station, KKSF, Real Talk 910 in San Francisco. Think forward. It's an iHeart radio station. The website is realtalk910.com. You can tweet them at realtalk910. And, of course, their Facebook page is facebook.com/realtalk910. And on the line with us is our old buddy Greg Palast. Greg Palast, the investigative journalist, author, filmmaker. His current The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. You can watch it over on Amazon. GregPalast.com is his website. You can tweet him at Greg_Palast. Greg, welcome back.
Glad to be with you.
It's
so did you wave goodbye to the blue wave?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I guess that's what we're talking about here. I had a brief conversation with Senator Sherrod Brown about this earlier on in the day, about, you know, how hostile the Republican Party is to voting rights in general, and you know, the consequences of the Supreme Court decision. If you could very quickly recap for us exactly what the Supreme Court said and how this has historically played out and how it is now playing out under the control of Republicans in the state of Ohio, and whether or not, to what extent you expect this to spread across the country now that the illegitimate Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch has cast the deciding vote. You know, there should have been Merrick Garland has cast the deciding vote to do this. Your turn, Greg.
Okay, the Supreme Court. It all comes down to a postcard, Tom. If you read the decision, it's a fight about a postcard. What am I talking about? The Supreme Court said that the state of Ohio, under the National Voting Rights Act and under the Help America Vote Act, but especially under the NVRA, as it's called, can remove people who've changed their address if they have evidence that they've changed their address. Now, what is the evidence in Ohio that they've changed their address? In Ohio, it's like, well, you missed an election. Well, how does that mean you've changed your address? Oh, well, you must move somewhere else because you missed the election. Really? About 4% of people move out of their voting jurisdiction in an election cycle. They claim that 20% of Ohioans have split the state in one shot. So what do they do? You miss an election, or, by the way, our old friend is here. You're on the cross-check list. That's evidence you've moved. They then send you a postcard. If you see my film, I actually show the postcard. The postcard really looks like junk mail, and almost everyone throws it away. You throw away that postcard, you are now on the hit list. You missed 2 federal elections. That means you missed a general election and you missed a midterm election, and you've just lost your right to vote. Even though the National Voting Rights Act says very clearly, black and white language, that you can't lose your vote in the future because you failed to vote before. It says that right there, unless there's specific evidence that you've moved. But not returning that piece of junk mail postcard is the evidence.
Now, the Republican Party was doing this back in, during the Reagan administration, as I recall, and before, but during the Reagan administration, my recollection, correct me if I'm wrong, you know this stuff better than I, Greg, and it was called caging, and they got nailed for it, and for decades operated under a federal court order preventing them from continuing this caging process of purging voters off the voting rolls. They were selectively doing it largely into black neighborhoods. But still, I mean, did the Supreme Court just legalize caging? Is that what's going on?
In effect, yes, by the state. And I should say, this is very important, okay? By the way, it really is, and by the way, it's designed to be a piece of junk mail to be thrown away. I talked to Michael Ichaki, who's one of the experts in the nation on designing responsive postcards, because he works for, eBay and Dell Computer and people like that who want you to respond. And he says it violates every single rule. It's meant, he said, it looks like it's designed for you not to return that postcard, not to understand what it is. And if you speak Spanish, by the way, hasta la vista,
right.
And by the way, so yes, it legalizes a virulent form of caging. And I should say that, unfortunately, John Husted, who is, vying with Chris Kobach of Kansas to be the most partisan, vicious vote suppressor in the nation.
He's the Secretary of State of Ohio.
Many states are using this system. It's not a question of will it spread. It is being used in at least a dozen states as we speak. And so you have a massive, massive attack on the voter rolls. And one thing that the Senator Sonia Sotomayor mentioned is that who's getting attacked here? It's minority voters, young voters, people who move apartments and don't get these. And you move an apartment in your building, you may not get that piece of junk mail anyway. It doesn't mean that you're an illegal voter. You move. Poor people tend to move. They're renters. They move within a congressional district. You don't have to re-register, but you won't get your postcard, and you're done. So it is an absolute attack on the minority community. Plus, you have to understand, places like Cleveland, you have congressional districts which basically have no contest. So there's no reason to vote in the midterms. They're uncontested elections to a great extent. So, of course, people don't, you have a big drop-off in midterms. So you didn't like who was on the ballot in 16. Then you skipped the midterm because, hey, no one's voting. Or this was in 12. You saw no reason to vote. Obama's got it locked up, whatever. And then you didn't vote in the midterm election. That tends to be stronger in urban areas, minority areas, et cetera.
Right, in large part because taking a day off to go vote means, for many of these people, low-income workers, that they're going to lose a day's pay.
Well, and if you saw in Ohio, you have to combine this with the other things that John Hughes has done. For example, if in my film, you'll see these, you might only see pictures of a postcard, but you'll see lines 5 hours, 7 hours long in Dayton and Cleveland, and zero in the white suburbs, zero weight in the white suburbs. So you see this 5-hour line and say, I can't stay here. I got to pick up my kids from school.
Right.
So they know who's getting hit by this. And by the way, I'm doing something about it. We're filing this week. I say on my behalf, I'm having a team of really top lawyers file against John Houston to give me the actual names of the people who were purged. Did these people really move? That's what I want to find out, because that's what it comes down to. They have the right to remove people where there's evidence that they've moved out of the jurisdiction, out of the state.
Right, which is reasonable on its face, but the way that they're doing it is just insanely sneaky.
Right, and they're doing it. Look, the number of people who actually move is it's 1/5 of the amount of people that they're removing from the voter roll. So if they got. And by the way, a lot of those people weren't registered, or they do something else. So basically, almost everyone has been purged. And I'm shocked that the courts didn't require Houston to turn over his list. So I'm going to make him do it now. I want to get those names. They really move. Those people really, really move.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. You're allowed to remove someone who's moved, and if you have strong evidence that they've moved.
Yep. This is
as far as I could see, yeah.
This is the Republican war on voting. Greg Palast, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, is his latest documentary. You can see it over on Amazon or at gregpalast.com, Greg_Palast. Greg, thanks a lot for dropping by today.
Terrific. Thanks, Tom.
Great talking with you. We'll be right back.